Well, here we are, Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022. My name's Larissa. So, I have two of my other three novels here, and I had a printout of my third one as well. These were in our cabin in the little library there, and on one of the occasions when our cabin was broken into, evidently they took my book. I'm glad you enjoyed reading it, but I'd like that back. It cost me $75 to have each of these printed. Seriously, it did. Before I start reading, I watched the German Chancellor, Chancellor Scholz, offer his thoughts today, and it's about damn time Western Europe opens up to Eastern Europe. It's about damn time. I hope that those words were sincere. So, Patent Leather Gene or Passion's Torrent? I think Patent Leather Gene. I had an Aunt Jean, my grandmother's sister. Okay, Patent Leather Gene 2020 Lenten Season Novella, an original work of fiction by Larissa Dahroug. Dedicated to the abused and slandered, and written in spite of those who abuse and lie about them. Chapter 1, Roses and Dog Shit. Jean Marie held her robe tight about her throat as she cautiously opened the front door. She knew she heard someone, or something, knocking loud and distinct, 3 solid taps, evenly spaced at exactly 9:11 a.m. It had become a kind of routine. Almost every morning, the same routine. 3 taps at exactly 9:11. The first time it happened, she thought it was part of a dream. She had been laying in bed, half awake, half asleep, waiting for her cramps to subside. The sound had startled her, and she had sat up too quickly. Her uterus expelled a hot, fast stream of menstrual fluid, and she had gotten nauseated. As she changed the sheets, she made a note to get a rubber or plastic back liner for the mattress. 40 was not shaping up to be what her ex-sister-in-law had gushed about 12 years earlier at her birthday celebration. Tipsy and rosy-cheeked, Melanie blew out her candles and then went on and on and on about how turning 40 was so liberating. Finally respected in her career and on her way to great things. Glass ceilings be damned, she had said, as she raised her glass in a toast. Jean had been skeptical as they raised their glasses of champagne with the birthday girl. As she rolled the bloody sheets up and shoved them in the washing machine that morning, she was certain Melanie was full of shit. 4 years after the toast, Melanie lost her job, had gone through 4 rounds of hormone treatment and 3 rounds of artificial insemination before traveling to South Africa to buy some poor farm woman's eggs to have implanted in her uterus. 2 years after that, she had a set of 1.5-year-old twins that looked nothing like her, but were the spit and image of her by-then ex-husband, Jean's husband's brother, Tim. Jean felt bad for the boys. Rick and Jim were now in middle school and having trouble. The bathrobe felt soft and comforting in Jean's fist as she scanned her front stoop. This was the first time she had actually answered the knock. It had been happening like this now for the past 6 weeks. After the first 3 mornings, she had called the local PD, but they had said it was probably just some delinquent neighborhood kids being jerks and to call them back if they actually did anything. After 2 weeks, she called again. That time, the dispatch officer was condescending and asked her if she was taking any meds or if she had a therapist to talk to. Jean was offended and told the officer so. The officer asked if she needed to be picked up and taken somewhere where they could help her. Jean hung up the phone and ordered a home surveillance camera to install at the door. A few weeks ago, it arrived in an unmarked box, signature required. Jean installed it immediately and for 2 days was relieved of the malicious knocking. She thought everything was back to normal, but was wrong. On the 3rd day, the camera went offline at 9 a.m. She was alerted via message on her phone. Again, it was the first day of her cycle, and she was lying in bed, half awake, half asleep, waiting for her cramps to subside. Her phone chimed, and she picked it up to see the alert. Your camera is offline. Frustrated, she pulled up the user site and tried to turn the camera back on, assuming there was some connection issue with the camera company's website, but it was no use. The camera wouldn't come back online. Then she heard it. 3 knocks at the door, just like before. A wave of panic started to rise up in her throat. She was sitting up in bed and blood was oozing out as she doubled over with a fresh attack of cramping. After a few minutes, the cramps subsided and the phone chimed again in alert. Your camera is back online. Holding the phone in her left hand and grasping her abdomen with her right hand, crouched over, Jean had crept to the bathroom to clean herself up. The bathroom had 1 window, and it happened to look out over the front door, but the awning on the front porch that skirted the entire length of the front of the modest house obscured the door itself. She couldn't see if someone was still at the door. When she glanced down either side of the street, she saw no one except Gertrude, the old widow who was friends with Jean's mother-in-law, 4 houses down, on the other side of the street, watering her roses. Gertrude didn't even own a cell phone or computer that Jean knew of, but maybe she had seen someone or something. The last time she had visited Gertrude with her mother-in-law, Joan, she had laughed to herself at the olive green rotary-style phone mounted on the kitchen wall. Jean decided to drop by Gertrude's later that day when she was feeling better and ask if she had seen anyone while she was out that morning. Gertrude was the big gossip of the neighborhood, so if someone out of the ordinary was on the street, she would be sure to have noticed. But Jean had to be careful about how she approached Gertrude, because she would most certainly report anything Jean said to Joan. Joan and Jean did not get along. It was generous to say they tolerated one another. It was more accurate to say Jean tolerated Joan, but Joan did everything in her power to drive Jean crazy, up to and including telling anyone who would listen that Jean was crazy. It had been a thorn in the side of Jean and Robin's relationship since the day Robin introduced Jean to Joan 22 years earlier. Robin worked for a company that fabricated mechanical parts, mostly for the automotive industry, and was frequently out of town on site at manufacturing plants all over the East Coast, Midwest, and Asia. Jean didn't mind him traveling so long as he made it home safely. The time apart allowed Jean the time and space for her painting and sculpture. Robin enjoyed seeing different places and his role in building the machines that made the world move. Joan liked to tell people that her son traveled so much to get away from his crazy wife, when in actuality, Robin had been traveling for work long before he and Jean had ever met. Joan and Gertrude met at a widow's support group at the local senior center when Robin's father passed away unexpectedly from cancer a couple months before Robin and Jean were married. Joan also liked to tell people that Jean was the cause of Frank's cancer, even though he had worked as a quality control engineer for a titanium mining company for the majority of his adult life. Joan was bitter about the loss of her husband and went out of her way to make miserable anyone who was still lucky enough to have their spouse. Robin was either oblivious or willfully ignorant of Joan's meddling and abuses. When the couple argued, it was usually about Joan and her antics, not Robin's traveling. Later that day, when Jean knocked on Gertrude's door, she had chosen her words carefully. She knocked rapidly and hard. Gertrude called from deep in the house, "Just a minute, I'm in the kitchen." When she opened the door, the smell of burned toast, cat urine, and musty laundry hit Jean in the face. Gertrude smiled, revealing sparkling white dentures. "Why, Jeanie, what a pleasant surprise. I'll have to let Joan know you stopped by to check on this old widow." Jean hadn't been amused, but didn't offer any inkling of her annoyance. "Hi, Gert. How are you today? Do you have a couple minutes to visit?" Jean had inquired politely. "Certainly, sweetie. Come in, come in." Gertrude stepped aside, holding the door open for Jean to enter her front sitting room. "Sit, sit." Gertrude motioned toward a threadbare, tufted couch covered with quilts and a pilled acrylic afghan. There were at least 5 cats on chairs, and a tattered cat climbing structure, staring apathetically at the 2 women. A vase of fresh-cut roses was on a scratched-up Queen Anne table in the front window. The drapes were open, but the shears were closed. Both looked discolored and dusty and in need of a trip to the cleaners. Jean perched gently on the edge of the couch. On the coffee table in front of her was a wrinkled Reader's Digest, a basket with an in-progress crochet project, and a half-empty bottle of raspberry lemonade Crystal Light. Gertrude chuckled and headed back to the kitchen. "I was just going to pour a cup of tea," she called over her shoulder. "Would you care for one?" "No, thank you," Jean had replied. "I can't stay long," and that was true. She needed to make it to the post office before they closed to send a birthday gift to her best friend. Gertrude sniffed in predictable disgust. "Suit yourself," she replied. While Gert was clanking around in the kitchen, Jean gingerly picked up the bottle of Crystal Light and gave it a quick sniff. It smelled strongly of alcohol. She wasn't surprised, just curious. She set the bottle down just in time for Gertrude to come back into the room, carefully balancing a porcelain cup on a saucer. She was a little drunk. Jean was relieved. Maybe she wouldn't remember she had stopped by and wouldn't report to Joan. She still chose her words carefully, though. Gertrude sat the cup and saucer on the coffee table next to the sauced-up Crystal Light and eased herself into the corner of the couch. "So what can I do for you, Jeanie, dear? Is Robbie out of town again?" Robin was out of town at the time, but Jean didn't give Gertrude any more information than was necessary. "Robin is at work today, but that's not why I'm here to see you. I saw you out this morning watering your roses. They're quite lovely this year." Jean had nodded towards the vase on the table in the window. "Oh my, yes they are. Thank you for noticing. I've been quite pleased with the flowers this season. I just hope we don't get another swarm of Japanese beetles this year. Those bag traps ruined the whole aesthetic of my yard." Jean knew how proud Gertrude was of her flowers. She and Robin jokingly called her Mr. Wilson, after the character in that old-time TV show, Dennis the Menace. "Are you here to ask me for some flowers for your table, sweetie?" Gertrude took a sip of her tea, which Jean was pretty sure she could smell a waft of liquor coming off of as well. No, Gert, but thank you for the kind offer." "Oh, I wasn't offering." Jean hadn't thought Gertrude was offering her flowers. Jean was just being polite. "Gert, when you were out watering your roses this morning, did you notice anything strange on the street?" Jean had hesitantly inquired. "Why, what on earth do you mean by strange, dearie? Strange like little green men snooping about, or strange like someone let their dog shit in the middle of my Will Scarlet's?" This is why Jean needed to be careful. Joan and Gertrude were always looking for anything to smear Jean with to prove to others that she was crazy and unworthy of Robin's spousal companionship, or anything that Jean was trying to accomplish. "No, not feces or little green men, but maybe someone you didn't recognize walking their dog or riding a bike or knocking on doors?" Gertrude finished Jean's sentence for her. Jean laughed slightly. "Yes, knocking on doors." Gertrude smacked the teacup down on the saucer, clanging it sharply. Jean started, expecting the cup to have cracked, but it was stronger than it had appeared. It wasn't porcelain after all. It was Corellware, a smart choice for a sneaky old drunk. "No, I saw no such thing. Excuse me, I need to ask you to leave. I just remembered something." Gertrude got up awkwardly, grabbing the front of her house dress and a bundle in her fist, and opened the front door. Jean got up and moved toward her. I'm sorry to have bothered you. If you see anything. I most certainly don't see much of anything. I'm old. My eyes aren't great. I can't even make out your front door from my yard, let alone know if anyone is knocking on your door. And with that, Gertrude had pushed Jean out the door and slammed it behind her. Jean was left standing dumbfounded looking at the closed door. She heard Gertrude bumping around in the house, closing the drapes and muttering under her breath. This made Jean very suspicious and wanted to speak with Joan about this odd interaction, but not until Robin got back from Seoul. Now, standing at her front door in her robe, Jean was angry. The street appeared empty, but she wasn't going to go check over the corners of the front porch alone. The floor of the porch was raised 3.5 feet off the ground, had a beautiful old pine railing and a crawl space underneath that was accessible from the side. It was certainly high enough that someone could crouch without her seeing from the door, or be tucked beneath, but she wasn't going to risk exploring by herself. Robin was due to land late that afternoon, but it was going to be difficult to have the conversation she needed to have with him for at least 24 hours. He had been in Seoul for 3 weeks, overseeing the completion of an important order headed to Nissan. She knew from their nightly check-ins that the trip had been stressful, and the jet lag from travel to Asia was always pretty hard on him. He scheduled his travel to arrive home on Friday, so he would have a full weekend off when he got home to recover before going back into the office. The camera she ordered, that was now rendered useless, had arrived the day before Robin left for Korea, and he had been irritated that Jean had gotten it. He, like the cops, thought Jean was either making things up or exaggerating. Jean had been so irritated with him that she didn't kiss him back before he had left for the airport. He didn't call when he had landed in Seoul. He texted instead. Between the argument with Robin and the mystery knocker, Jean had been so upset that she hadn't even worked on the newest piece of her newest series for almost a week, and when she had picked up her brush, she ruined a week's worth of work in only a few minutes. Disgusted, she sat in front of her easel and cried for an hour before applying gesso over the entire surface and starting over. The piece now sat on the easel complete, but not what she had intended. The palette of the original had some rare pigments that she couldn't get anymore. The finished piece was moving and well crafted, but not anything as exquisite as the original had been shaping into, and she was aware that she was holding it against Robin. Just as she was about to turn and go back into her house, motion at Gertrude's house caught her eye. It was subtle, and had the sun been shining lower in the sky, she most certainly wouldn't have been able to see it, but she distinctly saw the drapes in Gertrude's front window swing closed, as if she'd been watching and afraid Jean had seen her. Jean breathed out through her nose and pursed her lips before saying, so anyone nearby could clearly hear, "Look, whoever you are knocking on my door, I don't know what you want or what you think I have, but when I catch you, you better have a gun or I'm going to kill you." Then she turned on her heel and slammed the door behind her. As she turned the lock, she heard someone or something shuffle and thud around outside and run down the narrow space between her house and the house next door. The narrow space between her house and the next door neighbor's driveway. She hurried to the side window in the dining room, but was too late. All she saw of her mystery knocker was the bottom of a booted foot as they hung a left behind her neighbor's house. It wasn't much, but at least her mind was put slightly at ease. It was, in fact, a real person knocking on her door, and not a ghost or a figment of her imagination like Robin and the cops had insinuated. She pulled her cell phone out of her pocket in her robe just as it chimed the alert, "Your camera is back online." Jean let out a small, frustrated scream and shoved the phone back in her pocket just as it began to ring. It was Joan. Jean took a deep breath and answered. "Hello?" "Jeannie, it's Mom." "Hello, Joan. What can I do for you?" "Jeannie, I've told you 100 times. Call me Mom." "That's okay, Joan. I have a mother already, and I've told you just as often that my name is Jean, not Jeannie." "Jeannie, you know that's just silly." Jean did not have patience for Joan's rudeness and cut her short. "Look, Joan, what do you want? I don't have time for your insults and abuses. I have things to do." "Insults and abuses? Me? Did Robin give you the name of the psychiatrist I suggested? I really think you need some help with your issues. I've been nothing but loving and generous with you." "Joan, Robin gave me no such thing, and if you keep insisting on this lie that I'm in some way unstable, I'm going to get a restraining order. I've had quite enough, and this has gone too far for too long. Jeannie, sweetie, we all just want what's best for you. Now, don't you think it would be best for everyone if you would just admit that you aren't well, see a doctor, and get some medication to help? Mrs. Donovan just called and told me you were out on your front porch in your bathrobe talking to yourself. Gertrude, that half-blind old drunk? Jeannie, don't talk about her that way. She's nearly twice your age and a widow. She thinks of you as family. Well, I'm not her family, and she certainly isn't mine, so you can tell that drunk old bag to mind her own business, and you do the same. Now, is there something you actually want? Because Joan interrupted Jean. Now, Jeannie, if you don't calm down, I'm going to call my friend Sid at the county and have him send someone up to do a mental health check on you. Is Robin home? Joan, the last time you sent Sid out here, he told you not to call him anymore. That's tax money you're wasting every time you do that. You know it's Friday and Robin is at work. Try his cell. I did. I've been trying to call him for 2 weeks, but he doesn't pick up and he hasn't returned my calls. You haven't done anything to him, have you? Now, Joan, that is simply insulting. I have done nothing to your son. Evidently, Robin doesn't want to talk to you, and you know what? Neither do I. And with that, Jean hung up the phone and turned it off. Within moments, the landline began to ring. Jean glanced at the caller ID. It was Joan. She let it go to voicemail and stomped up the stairs to get showered and dressed. Pulling a t-shirt over her head, Jean decided to make a trip to the art supply store to pick up some pigment and a couple fresh wood boards. The howl of the blow dryer whipped the locks of her hair around her face. Looking at herself in the mirror, she considered the small changes in her appearance she had begun noticing over the past year. The skin on her neck wasn't yet slack like her mother's, but it also wasn't quite as firm as it once had been. There were more white hairs evident in her part, and her smile lines were slightly deeper than she remembered. It was all natural and fascinated Jean. What she found upsetting was how other people and companies seemed to think she should be upset about it. The ads sprinkled in her online news feed had recently shifted from vacations, shoes, and baby supplies to life insurance, weight loss, and wrinkle creams. None of them interested her, but the change had intrigued her and annoyed her. All advertising annoyed her. She didn't need or want anyone telling her what she should buy. She knew what she needed, and unless it was on her list, she wasn't interested in hearing about what anyone else was selling, particularly if they were using tactics meant to make her feel bad about herself to do so. Pressing her lip gloss to her lips, she spread the gooey pink stuff with the wand and pressed her lips together. Done. She grabbed her purse, bounced down the stairs, and turned the knob of the front door. Swinging the door open, she was hit with a very strong aroma of dog feces. It was a good thing she looked before she stepped out across the threshold, because just outside the door was a large pile of what looked like to be multiple canine bowel movements. Jean slammed the door and dug her cell phone out of her purse. This time she dialed 911, not the non-emergency number like she had before. A strange message came on before the phone began to ring. It said, "Okay, I'll try to connect your call." There was a brief pause and the line began to ring. It rang 3 times before what sounded like an adolescent girl answered. 911, this is Christy. What is your emergency? Jean took a breath and replied, I've had someone knocking on my door almost every morning at the same time for over a month, and today they left a large pile of dog feces at my front door. It sounded ridiculous as she said it, but she knew this wasn't just some bored child's prank. She suspected Joan and Gertrude might have something to do with it. A pile of dog feces? Do you have a dog, ma'am? What? No, I don't. Ma'am, are you sure this is an emergency? Yes, it's more than the poop. Ma'am, what is your name and address? It's Jean Marie Randall. The address is 179 Larkspur North. Thank you. An officer will be dispatched to your location. Please don't leave. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. And the dispatcher hung up the phone. Jean slung her purse over the back of a chair and wandered into the kitchen to pour herself a glass of iced tea and sat down on the couch. Sipping the tea, she rolled around in her mind the things she wanted to discuss with Robin and wondered just what Joan had left in the voicemail. Half an hour later, a cop car pulled into her driveway and a plain car parked on the street in front of the house. A female officer and a woman in plain clothes stomped up the stairs and knocked on the door, standing to either side of the disgusting pile now collecting flies. The officer was the one who knocked. Jean sat the empty glass on an end table and hoisted herself up. As she opened the door, a rush of flies flew in. Jean looked over the two women standing before her. The officer introduced herself. "I'm Officer Stone. You called about some dog feces?" The woman in plain clothes said nothing. Jean was suspicious of them both immediately. "Yes and no. I've had someone knocking at my door almost every morning at 9:11 a.m. for the past 6 weeks. I've called before and have been treated like I'm crazy. I was told to call back when they did something, and now they have." Jean's words came out more annoyed sounding than she had intended. "Ma'am, I don't need any attitude from you." Jean was on the defensive now. "Attitude? There is no attitude here. I'm frustrated because I'm being harassed in a way that feels a lot like stalking, and I'm being treated like I'm the crazy one. It's not just the dog poop here that's the problem." "Ma'am, we got a call that you were in your yard this morning in your bathrobe talking to yourself. Are you okay? Do you need help?" Jean took a deep breath. She was ready to hit this idiot cop. "That was probably my drunk neighbor, Gertrude Donovan, down the street." Jean pointed to Gertrude's house. She could see Gertrude peeking through the drapes, watching what was going on. Gertrude saw Jean pointing at her house and dropped the drapes closed. The cop and the other women were looking in the direction of Gertrude's house and turned back towards Jean. Jean continued, "Gert is a friend of my mother-in-law's. The two of them have been plotting against me for years, for God only knows why. I wasn't in my yard, in my bathroom. I opened the front door to see who was knocking at the door." Officer Stone was now looking up at the camera mounted above Jean's door. "Ma'am, can't you just look at your camera and see who was at your door?" Jean let out an exasperated sigh. "No, that's the other part of the problem. Whoever's doing this is somehow disabling the camera as well. They disable it at 9 a.m. and then it comes back on shortly after they knock. I can show you. This morning is the first time I've ever tried answering the door. I stepped out to look down the street to see if I could see anyone leaving. When I didn't, I spoke out loud in case they were hiding nearby, warning them that when I caught them, I would hurt them. You see over there?" Jean motioned toward the edge of the porch. Officer Stone and the other woman looked in the direction she was pointing. "See, right over the edge, there is access to below the porch and a small crawl space under the house. When I went back in the house, I heard them come out of there and run down the side of the house. By the time I got to the back window, all I saw was the bottom of their foot as they ran around the back of Clark's house there. Then I took a shower and got dressed, and when I went to run some errands, I found the pile of shit. Then I dialed 911. Now here you are." Officer Stone asked to see the camera footage, and Jean obliged her. It confirmed everything and nothing Jean had said. The camera had footage missing between 9 and 9:22 a.m. Before 9, there was no poop. Then the footage picked back up at 9:22, and there was a pile of poop. Other than that, there was no one on the camera until the officer and the other woman arrived. Officer Stone whispered something to the other woman, who nodded, then turned back to Jean. "Can you show us this crawl space entrance?" "Of course," Jean replied, and the three women walked down the stairs and over to the side of the porch. It was obvious someone had been under there. The piece of wooden trellis that covered the access point was pushed aside and broken. The dirt was trampled, and there were footprints in the soft dirt on the side of the house up to the Clark's driveway. Officer Stone made some notes and whispered something else to the other woman. Jean was becoming impatient. "Look, I'm not imagining this. Who are you, anyway?" Jean directed her question to the woman in plain clothes. The woman looked at her with slight surprise. "My name is Cindy. I'm with the county's mental health services." Now Jean was really angry and directed her words back to Officer Stone. "Does every cop have a mental health services person with them these days?" "No, Jean, they don't." "You may address me as Mrs. Randall." "Jean, I'm only here to help," Cindy offered. "I told you to address me as Mrs. Randall. I'm not sure what type of help you think I need. You need to offer me here. I need a real police report. Someone is harassing me. That's why I got the camera in the first place." Officer Stone nodded at Cindy, who stepped back, then spoke into her walkie. "It's affirmative. We're investigating vandalism and a possible attempted home invasion." Then she turned to Jean again. "We're going to speak with your neighbor to see if they saw anyone." Jean was still suspicious of these two women. "I'm pretty sure they are both at work by that time. Dawn is a nurse at a skilled nursing facility, and Steve works for waste management. They both leave before 6. But you can knock and see. I'll come with you." Jean closed her front door and followed the other two women to the Clark's front step. She was right. No one was home. The three women returned to Jean's front porch. Officer Stone handed her a business card with a number written on the back. "This is my card." I'm giving you an incident number. If anything else happens, call us and let us know, and use this incident number. Okay, thank you. Gene took the business card. Officer Stone and Cindy got in their cars and left. Gene looked down at Gertrude's house and saw her peeking through the drapes again. Gene decided to leave the pile of shit on the front porch for Robin to deal with when he got home, and went back in the house to cry. So this novel and the other one that I will also read were published on my website, and I published them on my blog, chapter by chapter as I wrote them. Pat and Leather Gene. Pat and Leather Gene. I loved my Aunt Jean very much. She was one hell of a lady. One hell of a lady.